It's story time with Amanda E. McKeithen.
Hi, you guys. I am Amanda E. McKeithen, also known as the Literary Enthusiast, and I'm super excited because we have another episode of Storytime with Amanda. Oh my goodness, Storytime with Amanda is the opportunity for me to read books by local and maybe not so local authors and just share their work with you. I love words, I love reading, I love writing, and I love being able to share these stories with you. So today, I am reading none other but Ginjer Clarke's book, Are Dragons Real? This is her newly published book. And so I'm super excited about this book because the question, are dragons real? As I was reading over this book, it made me wonder, are dragons really real? By the end of this story, you'll be able to decide whether they're real or not. Are dragons real? Now, what is a dragon? A dragon was believed to be a winged creature that breathed fire and lived in a cave. Now, if you think about it, that's typically what we know dragons are for. Like these fire-breathing things that burn up cities and castles and all of that. The Greek word dragon means to watch. Dragons were seen as guards who watched over treasure, but the Latin word Draco meant huge serpent or a large snake. Some people believe dragons were snake-like creatures that could swim both in the water and in the air. So there you see, there's a picture. Oh, in the Western nations such as England and Scotland, people describe dragons as scaly, scary monsters. And they feared that dragons ate people. Yikes! That's the thought that we have in our head. Dragons eat people. Who wants to be around that? But in Asian countries such as China and Japan, people believe dragons were smart serpents with beards and antlers. What does that remind you of? There's a movie like in Mulan, Little Dragon and Mulan. And these dragons brought people good luck. Where did the ideas of such different dragons come from? Let's find out. Ginjer, I'm loving this already. Dragon stories and art. Tales of dragons have been told for a very long time all around the world. The oldest dragon stories began in China and other parts of Asia about 5,000 years ago. Many people thought dragons controlled the weather. I wish they would control how hot it is outside. These dragons slept quietly in the oceans in the winter. Whoosh! Then they flew into the air in the spring, creating thunder and rain. The dragons could change size to be as small as a cup or as big as the sky. Did you know all these different things about dragons? I know I did. Dragons were so important in ancient China that the emperor was called a true dragon. He wore fancy robes with dragon images sewn into them. Many Chinese people today still feel that dragons are lucky. A dragon dance is performed to celebrate the Lunar New Year. Dancers hold up a long, colorful dragon puppet on wooden poles. Bam, bam, bam! They move the dragon together, up and down and all around to the music of the drummers. The longer the dragon, the more luck for all people. Now, if you know anything about Chinese New Year, you know about the parade with the dragon. An ancient Roman author named Pliny the Elder wrote a book about 2,000 years ago after he traveled to India. He described animals he had seen, including some he's believed to be dragons and unicorns. Pliny wrote that a dragon could wrap itself around an elephant, kill it, and drink its blood. This dragon was likely just a giant python snake which squeezes its prey to death. Ooh, I don't like snakes. I think we talked about that last video. Another type of book that described animals that people believe were real was called a bestiary, for the Latin word beast. These books also included dragons. from the ancient Greece also traveled to India and told stories of dragons. Alexander reported that he saw a serpent with wings hiding in a cave and he battled it. Other writers and explorers, including Marco Polo, also described seeing huge, frightening serpents. Many years later, people wrote stories about dragons that were based on these earlier tales. But now, there's stories told. The stories that are told about dragons are giant flying lizards. Now we're going to learn about the fighting dragons. Most dragon stories have one thing in common: a brave dragon slayer. An ancient tale from Iceland tells of a terrible dragon that breathed poison and stole some gold. A bold warrior named Sigurd stabbed the dragon with his sword and took the treasure. The oldest known written story of a dragon slayer is called Beowulf. A dragon becomes angry when someone steals his treasure, so it burns the town. See, that is the picture of the dragon that we have in our head. The fire breathing that destroys everything, like in the movie Shrek. Beowulf bravely fights the dragon, but it bites him. His friend helps him kill the dragon. The people of the town are saved, but unfortunately, Beowulf dies. Poor Beowulf. The most famous story of a dragon slayer is St. George. He was thought to be an English knight who lived during the Middle Ages. A fierce dragon was destroying a town, of course. The king's daughter was about to be killed. Oh no. Suddenly, the fearless George charges in on his white horse. He stabs the dragon under the wing and saves the princess. Hooray! Sounds like a fairy tale to me. Are you guys learning stuff about dragons? I know I am. Another story from the Middle Ages is about Merlin the magician and King Boychern. Merlin told the king that two dragons, one white and one red, lived under the mountain where the king was building a castle. Roar! The dragons kept fighting and cracking the castle until the king's men freed them. The white dragon fled, but the red dragon stayed to defend the castle. This castle was real, and the ruins of it have been found on a hilltop in Wales called Dinas Immers. Wow, I didn't know that a dragon actually stayed to defend the castle. So we're learning a lot about these fighting dragons. Let's move on to real life dragons. Real life. Megalenia was the largest kind of lizard ever. It probably inspired many tales of dragons. Megalenia lived thousands of years ago. It grew up to be about 20 feet long and it weighed over 1,000 pounds, more than a polar bear. Do dragons still roam the earth? What do you think? Yes or no? If you said yes, you are right. The Komodo dragon is the most fearsome lizard alive, as well as the heaviest. It cannot breathe fire, but it has a venomous bite. That means you don't want to be near it. The dragon bites his prey, chop! The venom poisons the animal, which then dies slowly. That's a humongous lizard. The smaller Australian bearded dragon also has venom in its bite. Hiss! The bearded dragon tries to look big and fierce. It shows its teeth, puffs out its throat, and shakes the black spikes on its beard. But not all dragons are dangerous. The Chinese water dragon is friendly and gentle. It looks real cute too. Hello! It bobs its head and waves its front arms to communicate with other water dragons. I think I wouldn't mind having a dragon like this. I like its color too. Nice is always better. The tiny Asian flying dragon can really fly, almost like in the stories of dragons. The flying dragon spreads through the colorful skin, flaps along its body. Whee! It can glide over 100 feet between trees. It uses its tail to change direction. The Australian frilled dragon has skin flaps too, but around its neck. The frilled dragon expands its frill like an umbrella to look bigger and more fearsome to an enemy. I think that if I saw this and it puffed up at me, I probably would run. It does look fearful. And then we have the leafy sea dragon. It looks like an imaginary serpent with its curvy body and fancy fins. The tiny sea dragon uses its camouflage to perfectly blend into the sea weed. Gotta be careful with these animals that use camouflage, because you never know, they may sneak up on you. The dragon moray eel is a monster of the sea. Crunch! It eats almost anything it can fit into its mouth and has 2 sets of teeth. One for catching its prey and another for swallowing it. I learned so much, Ginjer. I absolutely love this book. Now we're going to move on to wannabe dragons. You know what a wannabe is? That means if you're a wannabe, you want to be something other than yourself. So I'm assuming that these are animals that want to be like the dragons. The enormous Nile crocodile could easily be mistaken for a dragon, but it's not. It's a crocodile. Its giant lizard body and long scaly tail make it seem like a dragon without wings. This crocodile is also a fierce fighter, as dragons were believed to be. The Chinese alligator, another wannabe, may have inspired the tale of the wise Chinese dragon. Alligators are water creatures. They are good problem solvers and they can live a long time, just like the dragons in the Chinese stories. So we have a crocodile and an alligator that are wannabe dragons. Let's see what else. This is a hard word. Titanoboa was an enormous snake, and you guys know how I feel about snakes, that lived millions of years ago. This 40-foot long serpent could be the real animal that inspires stories of ancient sea dragons. Anacondas are the largest snakes alive now, and they are related to the Titanoboa. The spinning cobra is very dangerous. It does not breathe fire, but it can spray venom up to 6 feet away. Worst of all, the cobra aims for its victim's eyes, which causes burning pain and blindness. Ouch! Stay away from a cobra. Stay away from all snakes. The Bombardier beetle. A beetle? Trying to be a dragon? Let's find out more. The Bombardier beetle may not look like a dragon, but it can almost spit fire. Bombardier means one who releases bombs. This beetle mixes chemicals inside its body. Boom! The boiling hot liquid explodes out of its body and burns the attacker. A dragonfly does not look scary either, but its flying skills are even more amazing than a dragon's. Zoom! This insect can fly forward and backwards and circles and even upside down. And it flies fast, 35 miles per hour. That's like as fast as a car. Now the pink dragon millipede is long and creepy. It also lives in caves like some dragons, but it's a bright pink bug. This bold coloring tells predators it is poisonous. We don't want to mess with poisonous beetles and caterpillars and millipedes. Like the Bombardier beetle, the pink dragon millipede releases chemical fire when threatened. So that's why it's similar to dragons, Ginjer, because they find ways of releasing fire outside, just like a dragon breathes out fire. I got it. I'm catching on now. The blue dragon sea slug looks like a tiny magical Chinese dragon. Instead of scales, it has spines on its body called serrata. Zap! The sea slug stings a predator with the tips of its serrata. And then you see the pink millipede. And then you have the blue dragon sea slug. Are you guys learning all about these different wannabe dragons? We're almost to the end of our story, guys. Finding dragons. Many ideas about dragons came from dragon bones people found. We now know that these bones were actually dinosaur fossils, the remains of extinct creatures from long ago found in rocks. Petasaurus were the most European dragons. They were giant reptiles with bat-like wings. They grew as tall as giraffes, had a wingspan of up to 40 feet, and could fly as fast as 80 miles per hour. You know what? If you drive 80 miles per hour on the highway and get caught, you could get reckless driving. These dinosaurs would definitely be getting reckless driving in the sky because that's super fast, super fast. Look at them. Let's find out more. Ancient people were said to have found and used dragon blood to heal wounds, but it was likely the dark red sap for the rare dragon blood tree. Today, some scientists are studying the blood of Komodo dragons. They are looking for a way to treat new infections called superbugs that cannot be cured with medicines we have now. Dragons to the rescue. There's the dragon tree. There's a lot, I'm noticing, there's a lot of animals and things that have a dragon name attached to it. This is why this book is so awesome. Dragons were thought to be predators. Statues of dragons were put in places that people wanted to guard. They can still be found on bridges, gates, town walls, and holy buildings. On a famous peak temple in Thailand, a huge dragon curls around the outside of the tower. But it's not just for show. Inside, the dragon is a hidden staircase to the top. Would you go to the top of this peak? I don't know. I might. Constellation or cluster of stars called Draco can be found close to the constellation Hercules. Hercules was once believed to be a Greek hero who defeated a mighty dragon. And so here's the Draco constellation, and here's the Hercules constellation. We're at the end, my friends. The dragons of ancient tales may never have existed, or perhaps they were once alive like dinosaurs long ago. But no matter what, dragons always live in the hearts of those who are brave. Do you believe? And that is the end of Are Dragons Real? I don't know about you, but I've learned so much about dragons by reading this story. If you want to have your own copy of this book by Ginjer Clarke, you can visit www.ginjerclarkebook.com to get your own copy. I promise you, you want to have this in front of you and really see if dragons are real. Until next time, I look forward to hearing all about your adventures, and I hope that you join me soon for another version of Storytime with Amanda. Bye!